Have you ever found yourself in a situation where your need seems huge, but the resources you have available seem minuscule? I was reading Mark 8 the other day, and Jesus is in a boat with his disciples, and the disciples are arguing. They're arguing because nobody remembered to bring bread. They're in the middle of this body of water, and they're having this fight about who was responsible for bringing the bread, who failed, who gets the blame. How many times in our lives do we find ourselves in a place where we have a need, but there doesn't seem like there's anything around us to meet that need? What's our first response? If we're married, we usually blame our spouse. If we have children, sometimes we'll blame our kids. If we're in our workplace, we blame the workers around us. If we're a student, we blame the students or our teachers. The blame game starts happening. But Jesus looks at them and he rebukes them. And he says, hey, you guys, when we fed the 5,000 people with 5 loaves of bread, how many large baskets of leftovers did we have? And they said, 12. And then Jesus says, and then when we fed the 4,000 with 7 loaves of bread, how many large baskets did we have of leftovers? And they said, 7? And he says, don't you guys get it yet? And then it's funny because then the next chapter, a father comes to Jesus and says, if you can heal my child. And he says, whoa, Jesus says, whoa. If I can, don't you know that anything is possible if you only believe? These two things are tied together. And I just want to point this out because going back to those numbers again, because he said, don't you get it? Look at the situation. 5,000, 5 loaves of bread, 12 big baskets of leftovers. 4,000, 7 loaves of bread, 7 big baskets of leftovers. If you look at the numbers, the larger the need, the less the resources, the more the overflow. And that's what I want you to get today. Each one of us in our lives have needs, we have resources, but when Jesus is involved, we have overflow. The larger the need, the less the resources, the more the overflow. All we have to do is believe that Jesus loves us and that he cares for us and stop blaming people. Yeah, sure, somebody's responsible, but does that help at all? No. We're in a boat in the middle of a body of water with no food. What are we going to do about it? Stop the blame game. Just look at Jesus. Tell him your need. Show him the resources and let him bring the overflow.